so today marks 5 years since police say a Rock Hill family, I should say, was killed in their own home by a former NFL player. Dr. Robert Leslie, his wife Barbara, and their 2 young grandkids were killed. 2 HVAC technicians, James Lewis and Robert Shook, also died in that shooting. Now, police say Philip Adams pulled the trigger before taking his own life as officers were closing in on him. Adams was from Rock Hill and played in the NFL for 6 years. During an autopsy, doctors found that Adams showed signs of severe brain damage caused by CTE. So I want to lay out sort of the update since this 5 years. So Adams' father, Alonzo, filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Orangeburg County, South Carolina. Now, the Adams family sued the NFL properties, South Carolina State University, where Adams played college football. The suit claims and it states that head trauma led to CTE. The NFL and South Carolina State have denied these claims. A more recent update, now back in January, according to the Rock Hill Herald, a South Carolina judge denied the NFL's request to dismiss a brain injury lawsuit, this brain injury lawsuit. So again, a lot to unpack here, but we want to focus in on CTE. This is a conversation we've continued to have here on Live Impact News. And coming back to the show, Dr. Kelly is back here. How are you doing, Dr. Kelly? Thank you for joining us.
I am great. Thank you for having me back. How are you?
I'm doing well. 5 years since this case. We were just talking about it before. We can't believe it's been 5 years since everything transpired there in Rock Hill. For those who don't know, and we've had this conversation before, and you've been on to talk about brain injuries. We're going to talk about Brain Talk Day in a little bit. For those who don't know, what is CTE?
CTE stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and it is a neurodegenerative brain disorder or disease, and it happens due to repeated head injuries. So the individual that we're talking about, he did sustain concussions. There is a difference between sustaining a concussion and reporting it, and sustaining a concussion and not reporting it. So from the information that I've learned in taking a peek into this case, the individual had 2 or 3 reported concussions, and to my understanding, he sustained concussions within 2 to 3 weeks of each other while he was playing, and those repetitive head injuries really add up, and that starts the process for CTE. But the injuries are sustained, and then the signs and symptoms can show up later, delayed. So this individual was retired from the NFL and started showing signs later, but they are a buildup of multiple injuries that take place over time. So you don't bonk your head and then it's like, oh, there's CTE.
Right.
These are injuries that have been sustained likely from the time that he started playing. So that's why it's important to raise the awareness for young people so they can make decisions that are best for themselves and their brains.
And we're not just talking about, I remember last time you were here, we were talking about, I think we were talking about Brain Talk Day, we were talking about head injuries, and it's not just football.
Correct.
Right? I mean, I didn't even think about it, but law enforcement, hockey, all these other professions in sports, although CTE is synonymous with, it seems like, football, and that's kind of how everything sort of kicked off, really.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's where I don't want to say claim to fame, but that's where the notoriety of CTE is coming in, is with athletes, with sports. And so there are other populations that are at risk that people may not consider, like domestic violence survivors. They sustain, or they can sustain, repetitive head injuries, and so that can lead to CTE. You mentioned first responders. So when I was here last time, we talked about a police officer who did play football, and he was in the military. He was a police officer, and he did die by suicide, and was diagnosed as the first law enforcement officer, to our knowledge, to be diagnosed with CTE. CTE can only be diagnosed after death, and so if you do show signs, then now there is a diagnosis of suspected CTE. But yes, it can happen in other populations, like first responders, military personnel as well, domestic violence survivors, and even child abuse survivors can be diagnosed with suspected CTE.
How has the conversation evolved around CTE? Because I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, like mid to late 2000s is when that term started to be thrown out there. Even like CTE, even like, what is that? And then obviously kind of, the NFL, and then obviously the movie Will Smith came out years later. But how has the conversation evolved?
Slowly.
Yeah.
It is an uncomfortable
okay.
conversation. Yes, it's an uncomfortable conversation, but with situations like this, we're at the 5-year anniversary of this very unfortunate situation, and now that these things are happening, it's putting more of a highlight onto what is happening. So even when I was going back and looking at coverage that you all provided, and the documentaries that have come out that are brief and are watchable on YouTube, the conversation that's being had around it has shifted. So when this first started, it was this big scary athlete, and that's a lot of times the narrative that we find, because the brain injuries that we're talking about are invisible. And so these individuals can look fine, and that's the real challenge. You look fine, and when you look fine, the societal expectation is for you to act fine. And the brain injuries that are resulting in people killing and taking their own lives, it's causing the conversation to be taken more seriously, and for us to have more of these very important conversations.
Now that we know more about CTE, I know you said the conversation and sort of how we discuss it is slowly evolving. What do you tell caregivers? What do you tell family members? What do you tell friends about those folks who may be dealing with those early symptoms? Again, you can't, obviously you said you're not diagnosed until you pass away, but we know the symptoms, we know the signs. What do you tell caregivers? How do you handle that? How do you put wrap your arms around that?
Raising awareness. So I come here and I talk with you, and we talk to your wonderful viewers and listeners. So we know, but we have to continue to have these conversations so that we can let caregivers know. From my perspective, it's really the raising the awareness and then educating people on what are the signs and symptoms, what should you be looking for. I call them CTE episodes because there's a shift in how they're functioning, because the thing that you are noticing with a lot of these reports are loved ones will say, this is not them, this is not how they act, they're not behaving like themselves, and that is very true, they are not. So a CTE episode or a CTE trance takes place, and then things like what we are talking about now take place, and if the individual survives, there are circumstances where the individual has no idea that they have done these things. So there's no recollection of it. So it's tough. It's a tough conversation. Yes, we know about it, but so many more conversations need to be had. I'm doing my best to raise the awareness through platforms like Brain Talk Foundation. I want to get into the schools. I want to bring Brain Talk Day to youth so that they can be more knowledgeable about it. There are football coaches who are very much in support of Brain Talk Foundation, and so they have been kind enough to invite me so I can speak to their players. But learning more, knowing more, that's how you can do better and make the best decision for yourself.
I was about to say, are they open to it? I know you see in sports now, especially, and I bring back football, but the Guardian cap, right? That's a thing, which 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you wouldn't have thought, okay, we're not introducing that. That's not a part of football. But people don't even blink twice about it. They don't even think about it really. But folks, coaches, parents, players are open to the conversation?
Some.
Okay.
Some are. Like I said earlier, this is a very difficult conversation. Football is such a huge part of our culture and an important part of our culture. And so navigating this space is very delicate. Not everybody wants to hear what I have to say. Not everybody wants to invite me to come and speak, because the results of that, you know better, and then the goal is for you to do better, but the ball is in their court, no pun intended, for them to make the best decision for themselves, for their teams. But I have been very encouraged to speak to those coaches who want to put their players first versus a championship or even their own employment sometimes. But the decisions that they make on listening to a player's reports of what they're experiencing with symptoms, the concussion protocols, the professionals that they have on the sidelines and that are working with them, I am encouraged that there are individuals who are very much in support of that. The tough part is getting multiple individuals who are on board with that, and then getting them to invite me into those spaces so that I can raise the awareness. My goal is not to tell players don't play. My goal is to give them the information that I believe they have the right to know, and that's how we can alleviate the kinds of lawsuits I think that are coming for large organizations, because the the pattern that I'm seeing is they weren't aware.
Yeah.
So they're saying the universities or the leagues are not providing adequate information so these players can make the best decision.
So, like you said, you've done a lot, and you continue to do a lot to spread awareness. Let's start with this, the book.
Yes.
You're coming out with a book. I didn't know that until you got here. I'm excited for you.
Thank
you
you.
talk about what the book is about and I guess what you hope folks to take away from the book once it finally comes out?
Yes. Well, this book is a long journey. I'm very glad that we have a finished product. The book is called The 25,000 Mark. It's not just a concussion. The 25,000 Mark, it is an homage to Dr. Bennett Omalu. He is the neuropathologist who discovered CTE in the retired Steelers player Mike Webster. And that number signifies that it is a symbolic number. And when Dr. Omalu examined Mike Webster's brain, he said that the condition of his brain was identical to someone who would have suffered or sustained or been a part of 25,000 car crashes. So the title of the book is talking about that mark, that number of hits that can be sustained along somebody's career in playing. So the book is about a young man named Brett and his journey from being a high school football star to going to the collegiate level, and it talks, through what he experiences with the different symptoms of concussion and how that impacts his social life, his life with his family, his academics, and just the journey of that. But I tell it from the perspective of 3 different people, so multiple people can relate to this book. So I tell it from the perspective of Brett. There's also a perspective of his parents, because parents can see what's happening to their kids. They may know something's wrong, but they don't have the awareness to know the signs. The dad in the book, he is a former football player, so he's very much like, he can handle it, don't worry about it. And the mom is like, I know my kid, something's not right. And then I also tell it from the perspective of a coach. So his coach, of course, can see that, he's off by just a second, and the internal dialogue of, I've heard of some things that aren't really good, but should I pull him? Do I pull him? What do I do? And so that internal conflict with coaches that they experience. And then it goes through his collegiate career and him graduating and the decisions that he make. I won't spoil what happens in the end, but it is something that is done in a storytelling fashion, so it's more digestible, and it's a pretty brief read, and the chapters are brief, so I know that attention span is not the greatest with all the technology that we have today, so I made it as readable as possible. It's very short. It's about 117 pages, and maybe 100 when you don't have like the title page and all of that, but it's a quick read, and it really gives insight into what is happening in the brains of these players, what could be happening internally with their families as well as the coaches, and giving people just insight into what this actually looks like and can feel like.
What was the toughest part about writing this book? Like actually telling this story?
The relationships, intentionally documenting or describing the breakdown of relationships. Brett has a very close relationship with his parents, and through the CTE episodes, there are some moments where he gets violent and gets in his own mother's face, and that requires the dad to step in. But there's a moment where the dad is looking into Brett's eyes, and he's like, this is not some crazed stranger, this is my son. And so the dad has to have a moment of softening as well. And I think the tough part of having conflict with the parents, because getting your athlete to play at a really great university and on scholarship is a goal, it's a dream, but then what is the cost? And so having to talk about that conflict with parents was definitely a challenge as well.
Oh man, wow. I mean, I'm like captivated. I'm like, now I need to get an advanced copy.
Yes.
I know you're gonna be back next week, because coming up, Brain Talk Day. But talk to us again, because it ties together. Talk to us about Brain Talk Day. You got on me before about Brain Talk. We'll save that, but let's talk about Brain Talk Day.
You'll be there this year, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Brain Talk Day is my community offering. It's through my nonprofit, Brain Talk Foundation. Our goal is to raise awareness about concussions, traumatic brain injury, and CTE in athletes and other at-risk populations. This year's theme is It's Not Just Sports, and that is to highlight the individuals that are also impacted by concussion, and that can be impacted by CTE. So we have a great lineup of speakers. I'm very excited for those that are going to be coming. We have a judge who actually had to retire from the bench because of the level of severity of her concussion. I actually worked with her myself, and it took a substantial amount of time and just the cognitive wherewithal that is required for her job after, rehabbing and exercises, and, trying to rehab while she's also still living her life. She's a mother, she's an avid tennis player. She, gives back to the community. And so all of those different aspects of her life had to be put on hold to a certain extent. This is a mother. She can't stop raising her children. And so finding that balance was absolutely a challenge, but I'm very happy that she's going to be at Brain Talk Day to share her story. We also have a beauty queen who is from Idaho, and she actually is going to Zoom in. She has sent in her presentation, and she is a 23-year Air Force veteran, and she is living with suspected CTE and early onset dementia. And you hear Air Force and you think, what kind of war was she in, or what kind of service was she required to do? Hers came from child abuse.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it had nothing to do with her military career, but because she is a veteran, she has excellent care. She has had the best care, and she talks about that, how fortunate she is. But, again, you wouldn't think that this beautiful pageant queen is living with early onset dementia and suspected CTE from the cause that she is. We also have an individual who's going to be talking about psychedelics. It's a very risque topic, but it is something that is new and up and coming in the space of healing when it comes to the brain. And so creating those new neural pathways and learning what things that are growing from the earth can do. There's, it's risque, it's a taboo topic, but there are a lot of large institutions like Johns Hopkins that are getting into this work to see what can be done to help with the healing of the brain for these severe cases like CTE. And then we'll have a wonderful individual from a company called True Brain. It's a very innovative company, and they have the technology to actually place LEDs on your scalp and see what's happening in your brain, but it's not like a static image like an X-ray. It's like a movie. And like the example that they provide is like if you're grinding your teeth, it will light up on the screen and show like a movie what part of the brain is being impacted by you completing that action. So there are a lot of wonderful sessions that are taking place. I like to have a moving component with Brain Talk Day, so we're also going to have a Pilates instructor there who is able to educate on the benefits of movement and intentional movement with Pilates and how that can be healing and helpful for the brain. We'll have vendors and all the things. So I hope everybody comes out. This is a free event. It's the last year that it will be free, so I hope people come out. I hope people come out. But we always have a wonderful time, and it impacts and touches the community in a way that continues to motivate me to do this year after year.
Dr. Kelly, she's going to be back next week to talk more about Brain Talk Day, but Dr. Kelly, thank you for your insight, and look forward to seeing you back next week.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be back next week.
All right. All right, so that was Dr. Kelly. Again, she'll be back next week. All right, so let's shift gears. Let's talk about an exciting week, events coming up soon here to the Charlotte area. So for the first time in nearly 20 years, the U.S. Navy will host Navy Week in Charlotte, a week-long series of community service, public performances, educational programming, and military to civilian engagement events featuring 75 sailors representing a wide array of naval specialties. Now, throughout the week, sailors will participate in nearly 100 engagements across the region, partnering with schools, nonprofits, businesses, all types of organizations to connect with the folks here in Charlotte. Really, really, really exciting stuff here. So here on Live Impact News, we have Lieutenant Junior Grade Josh Keim. And Josh Keim also is the Charlotte Navy Week head planner. Thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News.
Thanks for having me, Nick. I appreciate it. Great to be here.
For those who don't know, I had this whole intro about Navy Week, but you can explain it better than me. Explain to us, tell us about Navy Week.
I was going to say, you covered almost all of it. I really appreciate that wonderful intro. But Essentially, yes. Navy Week is the Navy's signature outreach program. We bring roughly 60 to 80 sailors from across the fleet into a city like Charlotte for a week of engagements that connect them directly with the community through schools, nonprofit service, and public events. And essentially, what we're trying to do is connect Americans with their Navy, hopefully inspire them to continue to support their service members and present Charlotte with a firsthand accounting, so to speak, of their investment in the Navy.
I love Charlotte. There are a lot of folks that love Charlotte, but I just want to know, well, why Charlotte for this week?
Thanks for that question. Really, Charlotte's exactly the kind of city that Navy Week is designed for. It's a major American city without a large Navy presence, but with strong ties to national defense, to business, and community leadership. So Navy Week gives us the opportunity to bring these sailors directly into the community so people can meet them, talk to them, and better understand what the Navy does on their behalf every day.
You touched on it. What do you want folks to take away from this week?
I mean, if I'm talking to Charlotte, I'd essentially just say that this is your Navy. This is your opportunity to meet sailors who serve on your behalf. We'll be there all week out in the community, and we'd love for everyone to come out and engage and be a part of it.
This is a two-part question. Favorite part about Navy Week, and what are you most looking forward to as far as Charlotte and what Charlotte has to offer?
I think my favorite part of Navy Weeks is going into a city, again, that doesn't have a large naval presence, and really getting to meet that face-to-face interaction with folks who, don't have ships in their backyard. They don't get to speak to sailors or, service members every day. Maybe they've seen movies like Top Gun or seen us on television, or unfortunately all the maybe the negative press that we see in the news. But we are a microcosm of America. We have sailors from every corner of the United States. Whatever your race, religion, creed, gender is, we've got representation who come into these Navy Weeks. And so just seeing what a city like Charlotte has to offer, the strong community ties that it has for its service members in locations that, again, we don't have ships pulling in and out of port every day. It's just a great opportunity to see that and really see our sailors come out and shine and share their experiences. And, we've got folks who've been in the Navy for 10, 20, 30 years. And I'm really looking forward to Charlotte. We've got a lot of opportunities and engagements with the Truist Championship. We'll be at the Charlotte Knights game, actually the day before the Navy Week starts on May 3rd on Sunday. We have a Navy Day at the Discovery Place Museum. We're working with a host of nonprofit organizations like the YMCA and Promising Pages, Ronald McDonald House, and several others. And so we're all really looking forward to getting into Charlotte and meeting everybody face to face.
One last question before I go. You've been so gracious with your time. What's the one question you get during Navy Week that keeps coming up? What's the one question that you get from folks and from communities?
I don't get one question, but to harken back to a few Navy Weeks ago, I was at a local YMCA, and there was this little girl who walked up to me, and she asked me if I fought in the War of 1812. And I was impressed that she even had heard of the War of 1812. She must have been 6 years old. But really, I think you're surprised every time you walk into a community and the variety of questions you get from people. A lot of people just want to know, what is it like to live at sea? Or, we have USS North Carolina sailors coming in from Hawaii, and they're bound to get some questions about life under the sea. And so, we answer them as best we can and just share that, hey, we're just like you. A lot of these folks grew up in Charlotte or the surrounding areas. We'll have plenty of hometown sailors, and that's just those are the connections that we're trying to make when we're in town.
Basically, she was calling you old.
Basically, yeah.
Well, thank you for what you do. Look, if you need some food recommendations, I got you. Carlene, our producer, who you were chatting with before the interview, we got you. So if you need some food recommendations, hit us up.
I appreciate it. That I do.
Lieutenant Junior Grade Josh Keim, Charlotte Navy Week head planner. We look forward to Navy Week, May 4th through the 10th. Thank you, man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for yours. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. Yeah. Exciting week coming up in Charlotte. All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNT Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Let's get a check of our forecast. Here's meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Well, speaking of cool, Majestic, we have some fantastic weather on deck for us.
It's going to be beautiful, but over the next few days, Lisa, temperatures will actually be a little bit cooler than where we should be for this time of the year. But let me just say, enjoy what we have for now, because before you know it, temperatures will be back into the upper 80s to possibly 90 degrees. Let's start with what we're seeing outside right now. Generally, just a really nice mix of sun and clouds, a little bit of lingering cloud coverage still. But if you look in Concord, you can see how nice the sky is gradually clearing, and that's going to be the trend for all of us. So by the later half of the day, we'll have a lot of sunshine. If you want to take an evening walk, it should be really comfortable. Little breezy today if you're heading out for a bike ride, or maybe you're heading to the golf course. Today, those northeasterly winds, you're going to notice that. By tomorrow, that's going to be the coolest day out of our 7-day forecast. And then looking ahead, things warm up fast and we stay very, very dry. Yesterday, we only topped off at 64 degrees. We had quite a bit of cloud coverage out there. Today is still a really nice day, almost 70 degrees, although we should be at 71 for this time of the year. Currently, though, mainly into the 50s and 60s. We're at 61 there in Concord and Salisbury. Wadesboro checking in at 65. And you can see over the next 12 hours, while we still have lingering clouds currently, those clouds will start to taper off to the east and then nice and clear right around dinner time, with temperatures very comfortable into the upper 60s. Highs today there in Hickory, about 70 degrees, upper 50s in Boone, and 69 for our friends there in Rock Hill. Again, breezy as those winds move in from the northeast, gusting around 20 to 25 miles an hour. Spring break for a lot of kiddos, and really the rain continues to spread across Florida, but for us here in the Carolinas, it is going to be very mild, sunny, and actually pretty warm. You can see in our futurecast over the next several days, I mean, we are not seeing any rain whatsoever. It is going to get dry, warm, windy. So remember, the perfect ingredients for a new fire to start, and if it does, it could spread rapidly, so fire danger remains high. Over the next 7 days, this is not looking good. Zero chance of any rain over the next 7 to 10 days. So instead of the rain, we're really looking at another big warm up as we're heading towards the middle half of April. Look at this, Saturday, 86 degrees. By next Tuesday, we're into the upper 80s. Wednesday, possibly 90 degrees. So things are going to be very, very warm. I do want to mention, over the next couple of mornings, our temperatures are going to be a little chilly, so you'll want to grab a sweatshirt heading out the door. And if you have any sensitive plants, we could see actually some patchy frost come Thursday morning, as temperatures will be into the upper 30s for us, but even cooler for areas north of I-40. Here's our Jerry Hunt Super Center 7-day forecast. Again, upper 60s today, partly sunny skies. Waking up tomorrow around 44 degrees, so a little chill in the air. Tomorrow will also be the cooler day out of our 7-day forecast before we really start warming things up fast. Upper 60s, almost 70 degrees on Thursday. Friday will feel fantastic. Sunny skies, 77 for our high. Saturday and Sunday, if you have plans, well, you better plan for some 80-degree temperatures. And then even next week, not seeing any sign of significant rain. Rather, we'll be trading in the rain for that potential 90-degree day.
All right, let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNT Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So earlier today, we had on Sheriff Gary McFadden, Mecklenburg County Sheriff, to discuss the new post-release initiative that he has laid out. Let's take you to that one-on-one conversation he had with our Jay Monreal during the 9 to 11 stream.
Right now at 9:02 here on Live Impact News, we want to bring in our Tuesday morning regular guest, and that, of course, is the sheriff. Here this morning joining us for a conversation, our Tuesday morning conversation was what I'm beginning to call it here, Sheriff. And a new initiative is happening there at the sheriff's office, the sheriff's house, which you alluded to last week. So now today you can tell us a little bit more about it. What is this initiative about?
Well, the initiative is just a spin-off of what we call the Post-Release Center. And so my goal was to always give the persons who are incarcerated a better life after incarceration. So we started with the Post-Release Center in helping people transition from being incarcerated back into the community. And it's called the Reentry Program. And so when we looked at it again, we saw a gap. When people are inside the detention center being treated for their substance abuse, when they leave, it is very difficult for them to go into another program. You know, a lot of paperwork, a lot of bus passes, a lot of traveling. So we partnered with Urban League, our good friends, and we came up with this grant, and the grant produced what we call the Sheriff's House. So the Sheriff's House will house about 12 individuals who are leaving the Mecklenburg County Detention Center after going through substance abuse treatment. It is a warm handoff to the Sheriff's House where they will live for 90 to 120 days and continue to receive the treatment that they need to become better citizens.
Wow, that is great. And you already welcomed in a resident?
We welcomed a resident last week, and his words was, "I did not know that this place was going to be that nice," because we didn't take furniture from, you know, the side of the road or Goodwill or any of those places. Everything in this home and a house is new.
What does that mean to you personally to know that this is now available to the community and those who need it the most?
Well, we see these individuals struggling on the streets, you know, as we said, the block, and then we see the repeat offenders. I have a personal issue with this because I have a person, the very first person that I have ever arrested will probably be a resident of this house. And I still see him for over 40 years of law enforcement in and out of the system. And so we greet each other very well. We talk, and it was just something that came to mind that said, how can I help him better his life? And so this was a product of an idea that we had and with my staff and the Urban League. So it came up, made me feel good, feel great about it, and we hope that it is very successful, which we know it will be successful because we got a lot of impact into this thing, and we're going to make it happen. But it makes me feel great to know that we are helping people who are leaving incarceration into a place where they can continue to get that treatment.
Then how do you decide who gets to go there? If they're on and off the streets for decades, or that they are, you know, kind of hardcore criminals?
Well, they're inside our detention center going through a program. So they're in the program inside a detention center as we speak. And so then after they are going, when they're going to be released, after they, you know, post their bond or serve their, you know, sentence, this short sentence, then we transition them to the house. So we have these people already in our midst. We're dealing with them daily as we speak, and so we're going to transition them from incarceration into the home.
So the role of the Urban League you just mentioned, what is the partnership like? How important is that?
Well, it's great. We have a personal relationship with the Urban League. I do, and it is ongoing. It is great. When the director, Robin, calls me and say, hey, Gary, can we work this out together? We work very well together. So I'm always going to be a big advocate of the Urban League because they are a sound partner. And people use partnership, you know, loosely sometimes. You know, we have a partnership, we got a relationship. No, that is a phone call and say, hey, Sheriff, let's do something about that. And so this has been great for me and the Urban League, but always going to give them the credit because they called us up and said, hey, you want to do something together, let's do it. And so even though they may take a back seat to this, I won't let them because they are a great partner. And I'm just looking for the director to call me again and said, okay, Gary, we got that going on, let's start something else again.
Oh, wow. Okay. So who did you hire to set this up, and what is the decision process into doing something like that?
We have what they call a housekeeper or house maid, not a maid, but a house person to take care of the house. It is very well constructed. And here's what I want to say that we probably left out. The house was redone or remodeled or upgraded by previously incarcerated individuals who were paid to do this. So they had job skills before leaving the detention center and even after leaving the detention center, and we kept up with them. And so we reached out to people who were previously incarcerated to upgrade this home. So that's one thing. But we have a staff that is going to help these individuals get through it. We have what I guess it's called a house mom or a house person to take care of the house and take care of the individuals there. So we have hands-on. They're just not running the house or doing anything that they shouldn't be doing, but we have somebody to be with them daily at the home.
And how is this program funded, and how sustainable is it?
Well, it's through a grant. It's through a grant, and so it's not any money off the taxpayers here in Mecklenburg County. We want to make sure
people want to know that.
I know somebody wants to know that, or they want to tweet that out. The sheriff spending our money again. No, it came through a grant, and we're happy to say we're going to apply for this each and every time to make sure that we have this home so we can give people a better life going back to the community.
What does success look like then for the sheriff's house?
When an individual from that house thanks me and I see him or her living a productive life and they said, thank you, that is success for me. And we know that is going to be success because they wanted this. They're coming from one program inside a detention center to this program, so they want success. It's just hard to be successful when you have so many barriers. Bus passes, transportation, a phone, application, all of that is a barrier for people coming out of incarceration. So we're going to remove all of those barriers so we give them a better start than they had before.
And again, how can a family get their person involved and someone included that needs to go or would like to go through this program?
Well, if they are incarcerated inside the Mecklenburg County Detention Center now, I would encourage that family member to encourage that loved one inside the detention center to become involved in our programs. We have many programs, but the substance abuse program is what they need to be involved in.
All right. Moving on, it's been the first week under the belt of your new Deputy Chief, Ricky Robbins. How's that going?
It is. I'm going to laugh every time because it's going great. Me and Chief Robinson talked yesterday afternoon going home. We spent a little bit of time yesterday. He kind of rescued me from a meeting and came in and put his foot down and said what he needed to say and did what he needed to do. And so I was leaving late, going home, and then I saw him crossing the street. And so we called each other and had a great conversation moving forward. But it is probably one of the best decisions I've made at the sheriff's office. And it is a great decision because we have a great friendship and we have a great trust level. And so it is going well. So you'll probably see me laugh about every time you said Chief Robinson because we're working well together. It's just, I don't think either one of us is going to slow the other down. It's just that he's going to do what he needed to do and tell me, and I'm going to do what I need to do and tell him.
You need that real talk, right?
We have the real talk. We have the real talk. I'm laughing because sometimes when people come in, people believe that they're going to be laid back and they're going to wait to do things. I can tell you Chief Robbins is not going to do that. He's sound law enforcement. I can tell you will see a greater presence during the 4th of July. You will see a greater presence during Police Memorial Week. So you're going to see a greater presence of the Sheriff's Office in the community with the leadership of Chief Robbins.
And I think that is what a lot of people in the community are wanting to hear, that we'll see your presence.
It is a great thing. You know, we do well, but having that extra person to help you, truly help you, is great. And so I can't do it all by myself, and that's why we have a chief deputy. But, you know, I don't have to worry about Chief Robbins one bit. You know, he did some things the other day, and my staff said, well, the chief has already taken care of that. And I'm like, all right. And so it's great. So we're going to have a great time together. It's going to be a great time in this city, great time in this county. CMPD have their two friends across the street now, and we still love them across the street. So it's going to be a great time together in the city.
All right, again, off to what sounds like an encouraging start with that new partnership, and certainly with the Sheriff's House. We hope to hear more good news that the community needs and wants out there, Sheriff.
We're here for them, and you will see us in the community together, working together, and sometimes you'll see us on different spectrums. And so he has his world, I have my world, but that is the same world on our universe together.
All right, divide and conquer.
That is it.
Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden joining us for our Tuesday morning conversation, and that invitation to you and Chief Robin, now an open invitation. So I hope to see you both here soon.
Thank you.
All right, let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So an investigation is underway after one person was killed and another person put in the hospital after an explosion at the Carolina Beverage Group in Mooresville. Law enforcement says sodium hydroxide was in the tanker truck that exploded. They say there was no immediate threat to the public. We want to head out to Mooresville. That's where we find WCNC Charlotte's Bria Smith there. Bria, catch us up. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Nick, so that's exactly right. It was a routine tanker truck. So this is a truck that's been to this facility before. It's not something that was new to this area here. And I'm going to turn the camera around here so that you can see what's left of the scene. Earlier this morning when the call was made and first responders made their way out to the area here on Barley Park Lane, there was a lot more first responders here. Things have cleared up a little bit, but we did hear from the Mooresville Fire Rescue Deputy Chief, who did let us know that there were cleanup crews here in hazmat suits just to protect themselves from that chemical that did spill. Now, they actually used that chemical to clean things within the facility. So like you mentioned, Nick, there is no immediate threat to the public, but obviously obviously nearby businesses, as you could see here, were just a little shaken up because, we've heard from people who say that this is something that they typically hear about or see, in other places, but just never really think it would hit this close to home, Nick. And so we do know that once, first responders have deemed things are safe, they will turn this investigation over to USDOT, OSHA, as well as the NTSB. The NTSB, they respond to, any kind of incident or engage whenever there's an air or even a transport kind of travel incident happening. As you could see, maybe you can. There's a busy traffic flow here, but there are a few people entering the building. We've seen quite a few people go from this building or this area down to this way. And as I mentioned, there is some traffic flow here. So lanes are open. People are able to get through. But again, still that scene that you could see here. And as we learn more about, what exactly happened and what led to this explosion, we'll be sure to keep you all updated, but we'll send it back to you, Nick.
All right, Bria, thank you for that live look at the scene and that update. You can catch Bria at 4, 5, and 6 this evening. Bria, thank you. All right, let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, Thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. All right, so we are about 8 minutes past the top of the hour. So happening now, and this program is just getting underway. Here in Charlotte, there is an economic development announcement. The city of Charlotte officials from Mayor Vi Lyles, the North Carolina Secretary Lee Lilly, Mecklenburg Board of County Commissioners, all type of county and city leaders here for this announcement, and also North Carolina Governor Josh Stein there in the building. I believe it's underway now. Let's take you there. Let's take a listen in.
A system that makes our city strong. It is a great day in Uptown Charlotte. So proud to be a part of it. Today is possible because of collaboration and partnership. This is how Charlotte and the state of North Carolina gets it done. Here today we have the city of Charlotte, we have Mecklenburg County, we have the state of North Carolina, we have EDPNC, we have the Alliance, we have the CELC, and our team at Center City Partners. That's our team. To our guests, we are really excited to welcome you. This is an exciting time to be joining Charlotte. We are at a noticeable inflection point. We are witnessing this rare convergence of abundant talent migration, transformational public investment, bold private capital, all positioning Charlotte and our center city as one of the most compelling destinations in America. While other cities are debating, we are building. While others face constraints, we are creating capacity, and that changes the competitive landscape and positions us for opportunities like today. At the center of all of this is talent. We are a talent magnet. Every day there's 157 people that are choosing the Charlotte region. They are choosing opportunity, they are choosing quality of life, they are choosing this place. And we're excited by that. And it's my pleasure to introduce the Secretary of Commerce of North Carolina. Under his leadership, North Carolina reported job announcements and investments totals in 2025 that continue the state's reputation as the top destination for business. Please welcome Secretary Lee Lilly.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Michael, for the kind introduction. North Carolina is on a hot streak. We're like the Charlotte Hornets these days. We've got a great team. We're the hottest name in all of the industry. Last year was record-breaking, the most new jobs and economic development ever announced in the state of North Carolina, 35,000 new jobs, $24 billion in new investment. But not only that, it was superlative. We were named the best state in the country for workforce development, for economic development, and for the third time in 4 years for business. And we're incredibly proud of that. Mike talked about what makes that possible. I like to talk about our 3 Ps. Our great people, that talented workforce that we so depend upon to attract and grow great companies like the one we're going to talk about today. Great places like the city of Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, and the surrounding region, which do so much to make this not only a hub for business, but a wonderful place to live, to work, to play. And most importantly, partnerships. So when you hear about new investments and what that means to make this community stronger and more vibrant, you also hear about a project that brings new innovation and opportunity for the entire region. Something I find particularly meaningful today is that it demonstrates that power of working together. And let me tell you, the crowd right here knows how to get things done together. For CEOs already doing business in our state, our style of collaboration needs no explanation. And we depend upon those same CEOs to tell new companies what it's like to work with Team North Carolina. It's a North Carolina way that's made us special. And with today's decision, another world-class company has taken notice of the way we do things and said, we're in. The company we celebrate today could have gone anywhere in the world. They chose Charlotte, North Carolina. Our welcoming and collaborative reputation is well known in the business world, and this approach develops a dependable workforce that the company relies upon. Leadership that you see represented here today and out in the crowd That leadership cares deeply about the people of North Carolina, about bolstering our economic resiliency, prioritizing workforce readiness, and bringing great paying jobs to this state every single day. We're committed to ensuring that North Carolinians have every opportunity to live healthy, happy, and prosperous lives. And that's our state's economy, and it's one that works for all people. I'm grateful for the leadership of our governor and for his vision for leading all of us towards a better, more inclusive economic future. And so now, let's hear the announcement that we've all been waiting for. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podium the 76th Governor of North Carolina, Governor Josh Stein.
Thank you, Secretary Lilly, for that nice introduction. Thank you for your strong leadership of the Department of Commerce. It is great to be in Charlotte, North Carolina with all these good people. Mayor Lyles, thank you for having us. Lee Altman with the Board of Commissioners, Vice Chair, thank you for having us. All these city and county officials, our legislators, it is a great day. We are celebrating an investment in Charlotte, an investment in North Carolina, an investment in the people who make this such a great place to live, work, and play. I am proud to announce that SMBC, could you guess? SMBC is coming to Charlotte to establish its second U.S. headquarters. SMBC is bringing 2,000 good-paying jobs and making a $50 million investment. And just in case the folks didn't hear that in the back, that's 2,000 good-paying jobs, $50 million investment. These 2,000 jobs will pay an average salary nearly twice the Mecklenburg County average. That's 2,000 new opportunities for North Carolinians. And SMBC's impact on the state economy will be meaningful. Over the next decade, it is expected to generate more than $13 billion of economic activity. I had the privilege of meeting with the SMBC leadership team in Tokyo when I was in Japan this past October, and I was proud to be able to make the case for North Carolina for this next major investment. Japan is the #1 source of foreign direct investment in North Carolina, both for capital and job creation. Every morning, more than 36,000 North Carolinians wake up and go to work at a Japanese-owned company. These talented workers are helping their companies to lead into the future, a future of new ideas and innovation. And SMBC's 2,000 employees are now going to join that legacy. North Carolina is proud to support this investment with a Job Development Investment Grant, or JDIG. In addition to the teams at the Department of Commerce and the North Carolina Economic Development Partnership, EDPNC, our nonprofit partner, I want to thank the North Carolina General Assembly. And I see some legislators. Can you all stand up again? I want to make sure everybody sees you to thank you. The North Carolina Community College System, including Central Piedmont Community College, UNC Charlotte, the Commerce Department's Division of Workforce Solutions, Mecklenburg County, and the City of Charlotte. Economic development is a team sport, and Team North Carolina is the best in the business. The way I see it, North Carolina was the perfect choice for SMBC to call home. First, as we all know, Charlotte is the nation's second largest banking center. It is abounding in talent. SMBC's investment is additional confirmation of the strength of this sector in this city. Second, here in North Carolina, we've been fortunate to experience some real successes in recent years. This past year, we were ranked the #1 state for business, third time in the last 4 years. Ranked the #1 state for economic development. Ranked the #1 state for economic development. We were the #1 state for job growth in the country in the fourth quarter last year. We're the #1 state where people from other states are moving to. This success is driven by our top-tier research universities and community colleges, our business climate, and our unmatched quality of life. But foremost, it is because of our people. Our highly skilled workforce makes businesses want to establish themselves and grow here, and that in turn makes other people want to move and settle here. To the team at SMBC, thank you for choosing North Carolina. And we look forward to all the good work that you will do here as you enjoy all the benefits that North Carolina has to offer. At this time, it's my pleasure to invite forward Hero Oatscott, the CEO of the Americas Division of SMBC, and I will be honored to present to him a gift on behalf of the state. Oatscott, this is a pot by a renowned potter, Ben Owens, who's from Seagrove, not far from here, and on it is our state seal, including the phrase Esse quam videre, which is to be rather than to seem. And by your decision to invest here and grow your future here, you are proving that you are being and not seeming, and we are honored to have you as partners. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon and thank you, Governor Stein and Secretary Lilly and Mayor Lyles, and to many leaders and community members joining us today. It is an honor to be here in Charlotte to mark this important milestone for SMBC. Today, as the governor mentioned, we are announcing an investment of $50.5 million and the creation of 2,000 jobs over the next 6 years as we establish a second U.S. headquarters here in Charlotte to support our U.S. operations. This is a significant long-term commitment, one that reflects our confidence in this region and our plan to build lasting roots here. For those less familiar with our firm, SMBC Group has served businesses and communities for more than 400 years. We are one of Japan's leading global financial institutions, supporting clients across nearly 40 countries worldwide. In the United States, we have operated for more than 100 years. And here in Charlotte, we currently have about 180 colleagues with more growth ahead of us. Historically, SMBC Americas focused on commercial lending and supporting Japanese companies operating in the U.S. In recent years, though, we have expanded significantly in serving local U.S. businesses, enhancing our corporate and investment banking capabilities, and building a strong global markets franchise. At our core, we support economic growth by helping companies invest, expand, and operate across borders. Establishing a second U.S. headquarters in Charlotte is a natural next step in advancing that mission. And our commitment to Charlotte extends beyond business. Since establishing our presence here, community investment has been a priority as well. Our employees have volunteered for and supported nearly 50 charitable organizations, including the Ronald McDonald House of Charlotte, Second Harvest Food Bank of Metrolina, and the American Red Cross. Through SMBC's Building Resilient Futures initiative, we have also expanded access to summer camp opportunities for low-income youth across North Carolina. As we grow here, our community engagement will grow as well. Charlotte is already one of the nation's leading financial centers, supported by a strong business climate, exceptional universities, and a deep pipeline of talent. Equally important, North Carolina's collaborative approach across government, education, and industry aligns closely with SMBC's values. So, Governor, we also appreciated your visit to Japan, meeting with our leadership, and your visit reinforced our strong partnership between North Carolina and Japan. That partnership is part of a broader relationship, I would say. Japan as the governor mentioned earlier, is the largest foreign investor in the United States, and we are pleased to be among the more than 220 Japanese companies that have chosen North Carolina as a place to invest and create jobs. We are proud to contribute to that legacy here in Charlotte. Our second U.S. headquarters will support multiple business units, strengthening collaboration and enhancing operational excellence while enabling sustainable growth and continued high-quality service to our clients worldwide. We are proud of the jobs this project will create, but our goal is broader. Our goal is to be a trusted, engaged member of this community and a long-term partner in its success. On behalf of SMBC, I thank Governor Stein once again, the Department of Commerce, local leaders, and everyone who has helped us make today possible. We are very excited to put down roots here in Charlotte and grow together. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Vi Lyles, Mayor of Charlotte, and today is truly a special day for our city. As we gather in this historic Uptown Theater, now reimagined, we are reminded that Charlotte honors its legacy while boldly embracing the future. It is only fitting that we make this announcement in a place that reflects both where we've been and where we're going. Charlotte's story is being written, and today marks the beginning of an exciting new chapter. This moment represents not only a milestone for our city, but also an important expansion in the opportunities that we have to make.
All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We want to head back now to the economic development announcement happening right now in Charlotte. Let's take a listen in.
And regional partners. With everything taking place in our world today, we can all use some truly positive news, and today's announcement represents a real reason to celebrate. SMBC Group's investments in Mecklenburg County bring more than just new energy to our community. It expands opportunities in a way that will yield true economic mobility for our residents and local businesses. Mecklenburg County is so proud to have invested in this transformative project. The return on investment for this particular project is pivotal for our community's success and growth. Success and growth that goes beyond just numbers that were shared this afternoon. This project impacts our community's quality of life. This investment represents careers, not just positions. It means families supported, talent retained, and pathways created for the next generation of our workforce. Today's announcement reinforces our community's standing as an economic and workforce development powerhouse. Mecklenburg County is not just a U.S. banking center. We are a rising international financial hub, connected to markets, talent, and ideas that span the globe. We are an incubator for innovation and excellence, and we welcome new businesses that will complement our efforts, businesses like SMBC Group. I would like to thank our incredible economic development team. Please stand. I see various members in the room. Raise your hand. Dr. Johnson. As well as our partners at the state, the City of Charlotte, along with all of our business and community partners for their work in bringing this project to fruition. To the entire team at SMBC Group, thank you. Thank you for your confidence in this community. We are committed to being a strong partner as you build, grow, and innovate here. In alignment with the Japanese concept of Kaizen, we will continue to improve and enhance our partnerships in ways that benefit you and our residents. SMBC Group, welcome to Mecklenburg County, your new home. Thank you, everybody. And now, please, it is my privilege to welcome Shelley Kayette Weston, a member of the Board of Directors for Charlotte Regional Business Alliance and President of Business Operations for Hornets Sports and Entertainment.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I haven't been the closer in a while. As we wrap up today, I want to bring us back to the moment and bring us back to what today actually represents. As someone in the sports industry, I will tell you, winning means a lot, right? It means a lot to all of us. And today represents a big win. It's a win for the records job announcement. It's a win in economic strength, and more importantly, it's a win in the momentum that we're building here in this region that you all are a part of. I also would reflect back that the most important part of the win today is how we win. And I hope that you've all have recognized here in Charlotte how we win. Today you have business leaders, you have political leaders, you have educators, you have community leaders. And I would also note that you have the governor and the secretary, and again, political city and county officials. They didn't just court you, right, and recruit you and send a welcome letter. They showed up. And that's what we do here in Charlotte. We show up. We show up together. And I think that is something that's very special here in this community that we're excited to have you be a part of. Charlotte, as you heard, is one of the largest, second largest financial community, not in just the region, but in the country. And you heard that 3,800 of those jobs are financial jobs, which, again, the most important part for us is there's a lot more room for growth here in this market. So as we close here today, we assure you that this community, this business community, is about building winning cultures, of which you're a part of. Sports, again, back to being close to me, team is a big part of that. And not only do you have the team of people in this room, of everyone sitting in here and standing back here, but there's a team of people outside of here that's waiting to ensure your success. And that's why, again, we're happy to have you here. So to everyone, again, in closing, who made today possible, we thank you. There's a lot of people who made today look great in this amazing facility. We thank you. We are proud of this moment. We are proud, more importantly, of what it means to what's next. And we want to welcome you to Mr. Atsuka-san, to the SMBC executives. You guys have been leading a winning organization for decades, but one that's been having meaningful change and impactful change. And we are here to ensure your support and success in this transition. So officially, welcome. Welcome to this city. Welcome to this region. Welcome to Charlotte. We are going to win together, and we're excited about that. So we will conclude the, thank you. We are going to conclude the program now. There will be light refreshments in the back. We're going to have some photos up here. And most importantly, please get to know each other and welcome our newest residents of Charlotte. Thank you.
All right, so that press conference just wrapped up there. Let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. It's a beautiful day outside today. Let's get a check-in on full forecast with meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Well, speaking of cool, Majestic, we have some fantastic weather on deck for us.
It's going to be beautiful, but over the next few days, Lisa, temperatures will actually be a little bit cooler than where we should be for this time of the year. But let me just say, enjoy what we have for now, because before you know it, temperatures will be back into the upper 80s to possibly 90 degrees. Let's start with what we're seeing outside right now. Generally just a really nice mix of sun and clouds, a little bit of lingering cloud coverage still. But if you look in Concord, you can see how nice the sky is gradually clearing, and that's going to be the trend for all of us. So by the later half of the day, we'll have a lot of sunshine. If you want to take an evening walk, it should be really comfortable. Little breezy today if you're heading out for a bike ride, or maybe you're heading to the golf course. Today, those northeasterly winds, you're going to notice that. By tomorrow, that's going to be the coolest day out of our 7-day forecast. And then looking ahead, things warm up fast and we stay very, very dry. Yesterday, we only topped off at 64 degrees. We had quite a bit of cloud coverage out there. Today is still a really nice day, almost 70 degrees, although we should be at 71 for this time of the year. Currently, though, mainly into the 50s and 60s. We're at 61 there in Concord and Salisbury. Wadesboro checking in at 65. And you can see over the next 12 hours, while we still have lingering clouds currently, those clouds will start to taper off to the east and then nice and clear right around dinner time with temperatures very comfortable into the upper 60s. Highs today there in Hickory about 70 degrees, upper 50s in Boone, and 69 for our friends there in Rock Hill. Again, breezy as those winds move in from the northeast, gusting around 20 to 25 miles an hour. Spring break for a lot of kiddos, and really the rain continues to spread across Florida, but for us here in the Carolinas, it is going to be very mild, sunny, and actually pretty warm. You can see in our futurecast over the next several days, I mean, we are not seeing any rain whatsoever. It is going to get dry, warm, windy. So remember, the perfect ingredients for a new fire to start, and if it does, it could spread rapidly, so fire danger remains high. Over the next 7 days, this is not looking good. Zero chance of any rain over the next 7 to 10 days. So instead of the rain, we're really looking at another big warm up as we're heading towards the middle half of April. Look at this, Saturday, 86 degrees. By next Tuesday, we're into the upper 80s. Wednesday, possibly 90 degrees. So things are going to be very, very warm. I do want to mention over the next couple of mornings, our temperatures are going to be a little chilly, so you'll want to grab a sweatshirt heading out the door. And if you have any sensitive plants, we could see actually some patchy frost come Thursday morning, as temperatures will be into the upper 30s for us, but even cooler for areas north of I-40. Here's our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Again, upper 60s today, partly sunny skies, waking up tomorrow around 44 degrees, so a little chill in the air. Tomorrow will also be the cooler day out of our 7-day forecast before we really start warming things up fast. Upper 60s, almost 70 degrees on Thursday. Friday will feel fantastic. Sunny skies, 77 for our high. Saturday and Sunday, if you have plans, well, you better plan for some 80-degree temperatures. And then even next week, not seeing any sign of significant rain. Rather, we'll be trading in the rain for that potential 90-degree day.
All right, so that is our full forecast. All right, so we want to head now to our nation's capital. And his first public appearance as acting Attorney General Todd Blanche insisted the Justice Department was not focused on going after President Donald Trump's political enemies. He went on to say, quote, and you'll hear this shortly, "What we've been doing is changing the department," he said, claiming instead it was the previous administration that had weaponized the Justice Department by prosecuting President Trump. Blanche was President Trump's attorney at one point. Let's take you now again to that press conference, acting Attorney General Todd Blanche from moments ago. Let's take a listen in.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to start this afternoon by thanking Pam. She is a great friend of mine, a great friend of the president's, and has been a great patriot to this country. Over the past 13 months, Attorney General Bondi did an incredible job tackling violent crime, drug cartels, and reforming this department. Our streets are safer because of Pam's vision and her commitment to justice. It has been an honor to serve with her, and I know that what she has coming up next, we will continue to hopefully be able to work together. Every day, Department of Justice investigators and prosecutors work to punish those who commit fraud. For example, just this week, and it's only Tuesday, a criminal defendant was sentenced and the department obtained 2 additional guilty pleas in matters totaling over $500 million in healthcare and COVID fraud. If you think about that, just since yesterday, we had a guilty plea in a $160 million healthcare enrollment fraud scheme and a sentencing in a $100 million COVID-19 fraud, and a guilty plea in a $160 million healthcare fraud scheme as well. Each of these cases represents countless hours of dedication from the prosecutors and the federal agents and local law enforcement who work them. The Department of Justice is holding criminals accountable for stealing over $500 million from taxpayers. And across our U.S. Attorney's offices, all over this country, we currently have over 8,000 fraud matters underway. Unfortunately, as you've heard a lot about recently, because it's true, these cases represent a fraction of the fraud ripping off our country every day. Thanks to the leadership of President Trump, this department, working closely with the task force to eliminate fraud, is supercharging efforts to take down every fraudster and bring them to justice. I want to thank the Vice President and Anti-Fraud Task Force Chair Andrew Ferguson for their focus on this issue and for empowering this department to go after criminals who steal from the government like never before. Our goal is to prevent this from ever happening again. Because of this administration's leadership, fraudsters, scammers, tax cheats, or anyone who lies to get rich off the generosity of the American people should be on notice. Now, this isn't new for this department. We have a storied history of combating fraud and bringing criminal actors to justice. But the department has never adopted a comprehensive and coordinated approach to investigating and prosecuting fraud against taxpayer dollars and taxpayer-funded programs. With over $1 trillion at stake every single year, threatened by increasingly sophisticated and opportunistic fraudsters, the time for this comprehensive and coordinated approach is now. And so today, I'm proud to announce in greater detail the creation of the National Fraud Enforcement Division. Its core mission will be to zealously investigate and prosecute those who steal taxpayer dollars and rip off the American people. Our vision is to build a robust fraud-fighting squad capable of investigating and prosecuting the full spectrum of fraud against taxpayer dollars. We are going to staff this division by some of the department's best prosecutors, bringing together experts in healthcare fraud, tax fraud, benefits fraud, and corporate fraud under one roof with one mission: to protect the American people from fraud. Every U.S. Attorney's Office across the country will also be joining this re-energized fight against fraud. This means, in pure numbers, that there will be an additional 93 prosecutors in every district across the country devoted to the mission of combating fraud with the National Fraud Enforcement Division. To the attorneys and staff who join this new division, you will have the entire department's support as you work to protect the financial integrity of our entire government and the tax system that supports it. We will spare no resources in giving you the tools that you need to bring strong cases and do justice. The new division will bring together data and investigators from across the entire government so that you can track down even the most sophisticated fraudsters and hold them accountable. For example, today I am directing the department to establish the National Fraud Detention Center. This Fraud Detention Center will be a permanent, prosecutor-led, multi-agency data analytics team working to ferret out the most harmful actors defrauding federal government programs. So to the fraudsters who seek to take advantage of our nation, let this be a warning. The department will investigate you, we will charge you with crimes, and we will ensure that you are punished for your actions. The American people deserve an end to the crisis of fraud, and there is no better prosecutor to lead this mission than newly appointed Assistant Attorney General Colin McDonald, who's standing to my left. In the words of President Trump, he is very smart, tough, and highly respected. Colin is a veteran prosecutor who has spent his entire career as an Assistant United States Attorney in the Southern District of California. During his time in the Office of the Deputy Attorney General, he championed public safety and law enforcement, and I am confident that the National Fraud Enforcement Division and the entire department will benefit from his experience and his total commitment to justice. I expect there will be more to come in the next days and weeks from Colin and the Anti-Fraud Task Force, but I wanted to tell the American people today what this department is doing to comprehensively attack the fraud crisis in this country. Thank you. I'll take a few questions.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Attorney General. President Trump has made no secret of the fact that he wants to see his perceived political enemies prosecuted. So now that you're in this position, how are you going to balance that relentless pressure with this administration's promise to end the weaponization of this department?
Well, look, first of all, we have thousands of ongoing investigations and prosecutions going on in this country right now. And it is true that some of them involve men, women, and entities that the president in the past has had issues with and that believe should be investigated. That is his right, and indeed it is his duty to do that, meaning to lead this country. And so I do not view this as pressure. I do not view this as something that is going to keep me up at night, except to make sure that we are investigating every case that we have to the fullest extent of the law and using all the resources we can. And when you talk about weaponization, and it's become a word that is supposedly that when we talk about ending weaponization, as if that's a bad thing for us to do. Okay, people in this room for 4 years Some of you, same people, sat here with the last administration when you saw a weaponization of this department, the likes of which had never been seen in history. And some of you are looking down now. And I get it, because you had a president who was indicted 4 times by this department. You had a president who along with this department, had assistance. So this department helped 2 other local DAs go after the president. You had this department who stood idly by while states tried to keep President Trump off the ballot. Okay, that's what happened the past 4 years. And so when I'm asked questions or when I see reporting about shock and awe at this supposed weaponization of this Department of Justice, it means nothing to me, because it's completely false. What we're doing and what we've been doing for the past 14 months is changing this department. We're no longer, people say the president wants to go after his political enemies. No, the president has said time and time again that he wants justice. And if you look at what happened to him, his family, his administration, the agents that protected him, people that happened to just walk by him on a given day, they got subjected to massive investigations by this department. So I understand the question, and I understand the pretty constant role of the media that somehow this department is weaponizing itself, but it happens not to be true. We have tens of thousands of prosecutors all over this country putting bad guys in jail, okay? That's something that wasn't happening like it should have been happening for the past 4 years. That's going to happen tomorrow, and it's going to happen in the coming days.
Lieutenant Bondi lost her job, though, because she was not successful in that pursuit?
You read the same exact communication from the president that I did. Pam Bondi is a trusted friend of President Trump's, will remain so. And no, nobody has any idea why the Attorney General is no longer the Attorney General and I'm the acting Attorney General, except for President Trump.
2 questions. One, kind of housekeeping. Since you are announced as the acting Attorney General today, when is Pam Bondi's last day on the job? And is this a position that you would like full-time?
So there's a bunch of questions there. So I am the acting Attorney General. As far as Pam Bondi's last day on the job, I'm the acting Attorney General. I'm going with her. We're traveling together tomorrow to a pre-scheduled event. So she'll be with me tomorrow. We've been regularly communicating over the past several days for an appropriate transition. She is very much a big supporter of this department, like she was last Thursday morning. She remains the same, and I expect that will continue. As to whether or not I want this job, I did not ask for this job. I love working for President Trump. It's the greatest honor of a lifetime, and if President Trump chooses to keep me as acting, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate me, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate somebody else and I go back to being the DAG, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate somebody else and asks me to go do something else, I will say thank you very much. I love you, sir. So I don't have any goals or aspirations beyond that.
And then just a quick question on fraud, sir. CBS has done a lot of reporting on hospice fraud specifically. What are you doing to clamp down on that? Who exactly are you targeting? Doctors, owners, when it comes to hospice fraud specifically?
Yes. Exactly. I mean, everybody that participates in it. I mean, you see that fraud is the question was about hospice fraud, and that's the purest form of stealing from the American people's pockets, in that it is a lot of money designed to help the most vulnerable among us. And so, who are we prosecuting? It depends on who's committing the crime. If it's the doctor, it's the doctor. If it's the hospital organization itself, fine. If it's the families of the patient, fine. Yeah. There's been a lot. Behind you. Sorry.
Thank you. How will you lead this department differently than your predecessor, Attorney General Bondi? Have you had any discussions with the president about what he wants you to do differently?
So I will never talk about any communications I have with President Trump. How I will lead differently, I'm not comparing myself to Attorney General Bondi. I'm going to lead the way that I've been leading as the Deputy Attorney General, which is a job that requires obviously the same type of leadership I need to have now. So.
Question on fraud, real quick. I know this position was created differently, this AAG for fraud, by the White House. Will the will the prosecutors working in this newly created section, will they have a different chain of command? Will they be reporting to the White House or to the Department of Justice?
No. I mean, the Department of Justice prosecutors and support staff that are in the new division are going to report to this man right here, and then this man reports to the Deputy Attorney General and the Attorney General. So that's the way that every prosecution and prosecutor in this country works and will continue to work.
Two quick questions. One on the weaponization. Where does the weaponization working group's work stand? Will there be reports coming out of that? Just give us a general update on that. And then, secondly, I just have a question on fraud.
So the work is ongoing and has been ongoing for 14 months now. There's been a lot of results already from that work, if not in written work product. I expect you will see written work product on some parts of the work that's been accomplished very, very soon.
Is that driving criminal investigations further?
I'm not going to talk about criminal investigation, what's driving it or not driving it. Go ahead.
Kristi Noem, there's been a lot of questions about the firm tied to Kristi Noem and the ads that came through that was over $200 million in taxpayer money. Is that something that would fall under the purview potentially of this new fraud unit?
Well, when you say there's been a lot of questions, you mean you all have decided to write a lot about it, hoping that it generates something. So again, I'm not talking about ongoing investigations. If the new fraud division and what it will, the types of cases that it will encompass is pretty broad, but I'm not going to link it to some speculative idea or a question. Yeah.
Acting Attorney General Blanche. My question is this. A number of military and legal scholars have raised questions about bombing a nation's, all of its bridges, all of its energy structure as possible war crimes. What is DOJ's analysis of that position, and could you give us a sense of what you're advising the White House?
We support the Department of Justice, as it always does, supports the Department of War, the White House, Department of State, to the extent that's involved, and our intelligence communities to the extent that that's something that's appropriate, and we provide counsel to them, and we have been doing that as you would expect. Go ahead.
You said earlier that this Department of Justice has indicted President Trump 4 times. Can you explain what you base that statement on? Because obviously you now run this department. Are you basing that on your experience as a defense lawyer for the president, or are you basing that on
I read what you wrote. What kind of question is that? He got indicted 4 times. He got indicted in Florida, and then he got indicted in D.C., and then they superseded in Florida, and then they superseded in D.C. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not, am I breaking news there, that he got indicted 4 times by the feds? This department indicted him 4 times. Go ahead.
There's been a lot of leads been posted online about fraud in particular. Earlier this year, social media influencers have been talking about this. Are there any of those leads that have been something that have that you're not going to exclude from being part of the investigations under this new fraud unit, particularly some of the things we saw go viral on X earlier this year?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think not just with fraud, with any crime that anybody investigates, whether it's the feds or state or local, we get leads. A lot of the ways that we solve crime is from the community and from tips, and so we saw a lot of investigative journalism or just citizens that identified what they believed to be fraud, and that's the way a lot of our cases start, not just in this space. And so yes, I expect that I think that if you're an FBI agent, you should be willing to take a tip from anywhere. So in the back, yeah. You.
How specifically are you staffing the new fraud division?
I can't hear you.
Yeah, how are you going to be staffing the new fraud division? Like, which specific components and units are going to be pulling staff over to it? And more generally, do you have any concerns, just given the there's been a lot of discussion about AUSAs, prosecutors, and white-collar units leaving the department over the past year or being redirected to immigration cases. Do you have any concerns that you're going to have the man and women power to do the type of surge you're calling for?
So the answer to your first question is we're going to staff the new division in a combination of ways, bringing folks over that are here, using U.S. attorneys to detail their prosecutors, but they'll stay in their district, and then hiring, and so it's not limited to one place. And I have zero concerns about the narrative that exists in some of the writings from the folks in this room, from disgruntled formers and what a few disgruntled formers put on LinkedIn. Our department is prosecuting more cases than were prosecuted for 3 years, year over year, stat after stat, crime over crime. And so we can handle a lot of stuff. We can do immigration cases, robberies, drug cartels, and fraud cases. And so we're always hiring. Every administration, there's turnover. So we're no different. I think that the folks that are here, we have the best prosecutors in the world. Our U.S. attorneys are stacked with prosecutors, and they're working hard every day, and I don't think that will change. And so no, that is, of all the concerns I have, that is not one. Back, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Cameron with Daily Wire. My question is about the emphasis on what states this could potentially be emphasized in related to fraud, sort of staffing there, and then what does the coordination look like with other agencies within the administration? Has HHS been in the loop? Has HUD been in the loop? Are there any particular programs outside of hospice that are major focuses?
So there's every state. So as I said, we're going to do a combination of building up the division here in DC, but then every U.S. Attorney's Office, which necessarily means every state, and in many states more than one, will have at least one prosecutor dedicated to this effort. And yes, every single federal agency is involved in this. Where we get a lot of our cases is from the OIGs, from their inspector generals. And so we're working. I know that Colin has already reached out and had ongoing communication with virtually, if not every one of them, and that will continue. HSI will be a big partner in this effort. FBI, every federal agency already does fraud. So we're not saying, hey, can you guys start investigating something you've never investigated before? It's really, again, just re-energizing us and saying, listen, we're doing a lot of fraud prosecutions, and it's the tip of the iceberg, and so we need to focus a lot more energy and effort on that. It's nothing that we've seen before, and it will require a lot of coordination, and that's the goal. Yes.
Mr. Acting Attorney General, can you just expand on your comment that nobody has any idea why Ms. Bondi is no longer the Attorney General? It seems like it's kind of a problem if you don't know what it is the President wants you guys to be doing better.
That's an assumption that baked into your question that I don't know that it's true. I mean, the point is that I don't operate every day trying to second guess what President Trump or anybody else is thinking. I just operate every day on doing everything that I need to do to execute the President's agenda and priorities. And I'm not alone in that. I hope every single person that has the privilege to serve in this administration is doing exactly the same thing. So what I was commenting on, and to expand on my comment, is that I grow tired of people in the media saying why President Trump did or did do something, because President Trump's the only one that knows that, and so that was I meant nothing more and nothing less than that. That President Trump's decision for making the decision he did are his own and nobody else's. Go ahead. You got one. Go ahead, behind you.
Oh, sorry. Now former Attorney General Bondi was facing a subpoena from the House Oversight Committee. Do you expect that she will comply with that, or will this administration, will the Justice Department invoke some sort of privilege to block her from testifying?
So look, as everybody knows, the Attorney General and I went to the House Oversight a few weeks ago. We answered every single question asked for a couple hours. What happens now that she's the former Attorney General and there's the subpoena out there is I think I'll leave to Chairman Comer and others to figure out. I don't have an answer to that.
You won't be invoking a privilege or anything.
Excuse me?
You won't invoke any kind of privilege to block her.
I definitely did not say that. I said I will leave it to Chairman Comer to work out with others. I just don't have an answer for you, but I'm not committing to anything. I'm just saying I don't know. Go ahead.
You said the other day that no prosecutor is left at the Justice Department who worked on those investigations of President Trump, and you said that Kash Patel had cleaned house at the FBI. Those comments have already been cited in 2 lawsuits against the department. How do you respond to critics who say that was an acknowledgement that you guys are firing people for political reasons, career civil servants politically for illegal reasons?
It's not that. I mean, it's not that. It's much more simple than that. I mean, look, if you were a prosecutor and you were trying to prosecute your boss, you have ethical duties as a lawyer that I think prevent you from continuing to work in that environment. And so in this case, what we saw and what President Trump went through, every single prosecutor in this department, whether you're an AUSA or working here, you have a duty to do the right thing. And so in cases where and this is beyond this press conference, but I'm happy to talk about it another time, where you had prosecutors that were absolutely not doing the right thing, okay? And so none of those prosecutors, I hope everybody agrees that they shouldn't work here if you're not doing the right thing, and that's what I meant by that. And, you know, listen, it's been talked about a lot, but what happened the last 4 years is something that will never happen again.
The president yesterday said he was prepared to jail a reporter over who, as they search for a leaker behind reports about the downed Air Force officer. Is there an ongoing leak investigation?
I mean, I can say it as many times as folks ask. I will never comment on ongoing investigations. I think that to the extent that we have seen a series of leaks that necessarily involve classified information and putting the lives of our soldiers at risk or the lives of agents at risk, that is something that we will always investigate. And we will investigate if it means sending a subpoena to the reporter. That's exactly what we should do, and that's exactly what we will be doing. If it means doing regular investigations to identify who within the government feels like it's okay to leak classified information to put lives at risk, then we'll try to root him or her out as well. So I'm not going to talk about ongoing investigations except to say that, yes, we will always investigate those types of leaks. I'll just take one more question.
I just want to follow up on Perry's question. She had asked about who this division reports to, and I know you said it's a standard practice, but when it comes to referrals, will the White House or the task force that's being led by Vice President J.D. Vance, will they be making referrals, and will you be taking those up? And I also just had a housekeeping question. It sounds like you're putting in like the healthcare fraud section here, you're taking parts from the former tax division, but what about like the civil components that do fraud investigations, like the False Claims Act? I mean, is that part of this too, or is this all strictly criminal investigation?
It's primarily criminal, but I don't think that we want to limit ourselves as I stand here and announce it today, because I don't want to box anybody into a corner for what makes the most sense to do, and so that remains to be seen.
But as far as the referrals go, I mean, even if you're not.
All right, folks, so you've been hearing there from the acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche. We're going to take a quick break here. By the way, Vanessa Rufus, hello, taking over for Nick Sturdivant. We'll be together till 4 o'clock today here on Live Impact. Like I mentioned, we return. We've got another feed to bring to you. This is from a visit today in Western North Carolina with the new head of Homeland Security, Markwayne Mullin, fresh off a confirmation in the Senate. And as you might suspect, the purpose of this visit primarily centered around Hurricane Helene recovery, but we'll hear more from that actual sit down and roundtable in just 2 minutes when we return. Hi, folks. Thanks so much for sticking with us here for Live Impact News. As we mentioned, we're going to head to Western North Carolina right now to check in with a roundtable from today. This is with the new head of DHS, Markwayne Mullin, who is in Western North Carolina to talk about primarily Helene-related recovery. But there's a roundtable you'll see here in just a few moments where you've got other officials, including first responders. We also know that Ted Budd, Senator, is going to be part of this discussion too. So with that, let's go ahead and take a listen to how the dialogue played out.
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah, thank you everybody for being here. Senator Ted Budd, it's absolutely my honor to have a friend and colleague all the way a decade ago when we served in the House together, coming in 2022 in the U.S. Senate together. And now it's absolutely my pleasure to have the Secretary of Homeland Security here, Markwayne Mullin. And I tell you what, before the vote confirmation even happened in the Senate, he was on the phone to North Carolina to start arranging this visit. And it was still hours before he would ever be officially confirmed, but he was already starting the ball rolling for North Carolina. This is a man that not only knows how to serve his country, but he knows how to work on a business, lead a business, and so he's bringing those skills together. He's a person of action. He's a great individual. Love his family. He's been, again, a great friend. So I'm so honored to have him here. But before we get going, if we could just start with, we'll start here on the right, and then we'll go back over to John Anglin after Matt, and then come back around here. And we'll turn it over to the Secretary.
You got to introduce your wife, though.
Yeah. Oh, Amy Kate, if you would. We actually, in the seat of highest honor right here for Amy Kate Budd, has been with me on.
She's my favorite. She brought me some cakes.
Yes, that's right. He puts up with me. He loves Amy Kate. That's right. My guest at the State of the Union was Steve Freeman, who was from Batcave, just up the road here. Just led heroic efforts there. A lot of heroes at these tables. And that you've met today, people that pulled together, so many volunteers for this section of Western North Carolina. But it's been amazing over the last 18 months what we've seen in this state, how many people have pulled them together, brought in volunteers from all over the country. But it's just been absolutely amazing. Steve, we'll turn it over to you, and then we'll go over to Peter. Just you'd introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm Steve Freeman. I'm the Chief of Batcave Fire and Rescue. We're the last volunteer department in the county up there. We were kind of ground zero when all this hit us in Chimney Rock, Lake Lure. If it weren't for all the volunteers and everybody that lived through this, and all the glory goes to God for it. We were blessed not to have more fatalities than what we did. It could have been a lot worse. But I want to thank you all for coming and all the help that we've had so far, and for not forgetting about us, because we've still got a long ways to go.
Well, let me tell you, between Tim and Chuck and of course Ted, no one in D.C. is forgetting about it, because they are your biggest advocates. But Chief, I can tell you as a fire chief without even being introduced is because your mustache.
You won't remember my name,
but I'll remember this.
All right, that's great. I'm Peter O'Leary. I'm the mayor of Chimney Rock Village, and it's my pleasure and honor to welcome this group to the village, this distinguished group. And I'll echo what Steve said. We appreciate the support. This has been devastating to our community, but we definitely appreciate all this support and look forward to a strong recovery with the help of these individuals as well as many more.
I'm Dave Natonsky. I'm Secretary Mullin's Chief of Staff. Thank you all for hosting us here. It's an honor to be here on our first trip.
John Mitchell. I'm the Henderson County Manager. The folks just up the road. I think y'all are going to go through there later today. I think it's probably incumbent upon me. I lead an organization of about 1,000 individuals who stepped up and went to work before the storm and have been working since. And they deserve a lot of thanks, but I think I should just point out, I know that maybe this is for the benefit of the press, but we've got members of the General Assembly here, congressmen, senators, so I appreciate your efforts, who've who've really stepped up for the people of West North Carolina. The General Assembly has voted to provide resources. The Congress has voted to provide resources. And I look around the table and I can see men and women here who have been working to get those resources in West North Carolina. I'm thankful that you're here. And just at the risk of going too far, saying too much, I just want to encourage you to give these men and women the ability to make the decisions that need to be made. You know, I think we can endure just about anything if we know how long it's going to be, or what if there's a yes or no answer to it. So, sir, I appreciate you being here. It means the world to us that you're here. So,
John, thank you.
I'm Jay Alley. I'm chief at Girton Fire Department up at the very top of the mountain. We were the ones that donated 34.5 inches of rain in 36 hours to Chimney Rock, and I know they're very appreciative of it. We were very fortunate. We had no loss of life in our district at all. We found that everybody survived. We lost structures, we lost roads, we lost every power pole. We lost a lot. Our station was damaged, but we never shut down. We continued to operate the whole time. If it had not been for volunteers and state and federal resources that came in, we probably wouldn't have survived the whole thing. And so I echo what Mr. Mitchell said. We just keep our back, because we're still struggling.
Chief, how y'all doing now?
We're still struggling. We're still working on. We still have projects at our station that are still not complete as of today. We've been working on a septic system since the storm, and we still haven't got it completed yet.
Just at your station?
Yes.
Explain that to me, your septic system.
The storm destroyed everything.
Right, but I mean, you've been working on it since.
We had to put a treatment center in.
Okay.
So we had to go through a whole bunch of different assorted problems. We had to jump through a bunch of EPA's hoops and DQE.
So you put an aerobic system in there now?
So hopefully soon.
I'm Tim Moore. I'm the congressman for this area, the 14th district, and it says a lot. The first trip that the president took when he took office was here to Western North Carolina, and here I believe this is your first trip, Mr. Secretary, here to Western North Carolina, and that sends a very important message to the folks who live here that Washington is not forgetting this area, continues to invest resources. So thank you for the work you're doing. You've already done great things to speed up resources. And I do want to give a shout out to 3 of my former colleagues when I served in the legislature. The state legislature has also really stepped up in a significant way to help out too. So these guys have been great partners with us at the federal level as well.
Well, the president made it very clear when we were going through the nomination process that this is where he wanted my first stop to be, because he said there's still a tremendous amount of work to go. And as a quote, he says, "People in North Carolina love me." And I believe that's true. And Karen and her team at FEMA, they were prepared to go too. When we started talking about the resources needed, about some of the stuff that needed to be released, everybody was ready to move. And so it's an honor to be here and definitely make my first official trip.
We appreciate you.
I'm State Senator.
All right, folks, and we'll continue on with this dialogue in just a bit, but we do have to take a quick break here on Live Impact News. Back in 2 minutes with more. Welcome back to Live Impact News. We're going to turn back to this roundtable in Western North Carolina from today. Visit from DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, fresh off a new confirmation by the Senate, making a visit in the high country, as you might suspect, primarily to discuss Hurricane Helene recovery. Of note, you've got various officials you're going to hear from as well in this roundtable, and Senator Ted Budd, who is kind of leading this up, if you will. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Former member of the House when Tim was actually my speaker at that time. I live in the Girton Fire District, so I was part of all the rain that we sent down through Bat Cave and Lake Lure. It's been 18 months, and in some respects it seems longer, that it happened longer ago, and in some respects it seems like it was yesterday. But I look at all these faces here, and these are people that care about their communities, they care about our state, and without fail have demonstrated that 24 hours a day, they're committed to our recovery, and it's lengthy. And some of the things that we've discovered is that all storms are not created equal, and all public policy doesn't fit in the same box. So some of the issues that we're facing are federal policies that kind of counteract one another. We have state policies that we're working on, but the willingness of both our members of Congress as well as my colleagues in the House and the Senate have demonstrated to help us make those changes has been very, very heartfelt and very meaningful. So we appreciate your being here. Ted, honestly, you have been a champion for us. Tim and Chuck, you've been there for us. Can't thank you enough. Pleasure to have you here.
I'm Jake Johnson. I represent House District 113. This is where we're sitting right now. We've got Rutherford, Polk, Henderson, and McDowell counties. I grew up about 15 minutes that way. We're very grateful you're here. We've made close to the state roughly $2 billion, between 1.8 and $2 billion that are getting out the door right now for the state. That's a huge investment. And any other storm, that would be, moving the needle almost to complete. But this, we're going to need a lot more help. And the way you've come in and sped things up, that's been huge for us here. And we hear that from our local folks and our neighbors. So thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Secretary. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it, and thank you, Administrator Evans, for being here as well, and for sitting down with the governor and me when we were up in D.C. I'm Matt Calabria, and I'm with the Governor's Recovery Office for Western North Carolina. And we really do appreciate y'all being here. As you know better than anybody, there's no substitute for being there and seeing what, the situation on the ground. But I also wanted to specifically thank you for expressing your interest in accelerating the work of FEMA and making sure that we do everything we can to move quickly on public assistance projects and hazard mitigation grant project reviews and approvals and reimbursements. We know a lot of local governments are working very hard in cash-strapped times with very difficult circumstances. Certainly, as I think others have alluded to, the state's doing everything we know to do to make sure that we move as quickly and as strongly as we can, and very much appreciate your partnership in that.
Thank you, Matt. John.
Hey, John Anglin. I'm from Yancey County. I'm with a construction firm called the Branch Group, located in North Carolina, Virginia, doing a lot of the transportation work. And I'm here because I found myself on the incident management team after the storm hit Yancey County, where we had the most rainfall, the highest wind, two rivers that flow off of Mount Mitchell, the highest peak east of the Rockies, just devastated our community. So, county about 19,000 people, and we had one posture after the storm, and that's please help us. So I want to thank Congressman Edwards, his team, and Senator Budd's team. They've been just in the trenches with us from day one. Can't say enough about what they've done for us, and I'm glad you're here. And on a personal note, I'm a citizen, proud citizen of the Muskogee Creek Nation. So, yep. My mom's from Oklahoma. My mom's from Oklahoma. So, yeah.
Whereabouts in Oklahoma?
McIntosh County, Eufaula.
Well, that's where I go to Lake Ed.
Good to have you here, sir. Thank you for being here. Appreciate what you bring to the table.
Thank you, John.
Wayne Tatus, I'm the Federal Coordinating Officer for FEMA for North Carolina. Just real quick, I want to work with a lot of you around the table at different times on different things, and just really appreciate the cooperation and teamwork we've had to work towards the recovery of North Carolina. Thank you.
Hey, Jen.
Good to see you. I'm Jennifer Balcom. I serve in the House District 117, which is Henderson County, the Bat Cave, Mr. Freeman's district. So born and raised here. I was here first hand, saw it all, still working through, and I appreciate Senator Budd and Congressman Edwards and Congressman Moore for working with us, and appreciate everything that FEMA is doing to do that. I know we have a long road, we're all aware of that, and just continue to support us is what I can ask, and help us continue. And as a state, we will continue to work with you through the process. So thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Secretary, we've had the opportunity to meet on a number of occasions. First of all, I just want to thank you for making this your first trip after being sworn in, just like the President did. And I think all of us in Western North Carolina can take a great deal of comfort in knowing the commitment from the White House to seeing us rebuild. I represent North Carolina's 11th Congressional District, which, by the way, was part of this area on the day that the storm hit. A couple months after that, due to redistricting, we traded counties just a little bit. And I want to reiterate that what you see here in this area can be played out in dozens of local communities across the mountains of Western North Carolina. Strong, resilient people that have learned to come together and face the murky waters, no pun intended, of dealing with FEMA, because none of us have dealt with any situation of this magnitude. I certainly appreciate the partnership that we've been able to build in Congress with Congressman Moore, with Senator Budd, with our state legislature. I've got to commend the state legislature for running such a tight fiscal ship and being able to have a rainy day fund, again, no pun intended, to help lead the charge in our rebuild here. So thank you again for making the trip.
Absolutely. David.
Sir, thank you. Dave DiOrio, Mayor Pro Tem of Lake Lure. I would invite everyone to the grand reopening of Lake Lure. It's going to happen in a couple of weeks. I'll tell you, sir, it's a miracle, really. When policy and appropriations in balance come together, amazing things can happen. Thank you all for it's all due to your efforts. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
I should have postponed it a couple of weeks. But we couldn't have made it our first. We'll bring you back. Bring the whole family next time. Rob.
It's absolutely great to have you here in the region for your first visit. Yeah. For the team here, a lot of work has been done. We fully understand there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. The message for our team here in the region is that we're not coasting, we're accelerating. So we're excited about what you're bringing to this organization. We will execute aggressively to make sure we're meeting your intent.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Sir.
Go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Victoria Barton. I'm with FEMA. I'm the Associate Administrator for External Affairs. Thank you all for having us here and spending the time. It's also great to see folks in person. I know we've had several countless virtual visits, familiar faces, so very much appreciated. I do want to thank Senator Budd and Chuck Edwards, Congressman Tim Moore as well. You have fierce advocates in D.C. I speak with their staff constantly. I know Karen and I have been up to the Hill several times, and we are constantly in communication. So fierce advocates, and thank you all. And just want to thank the Secretary for your leadership. It's been very helpful.
Thank you.
Chris Melton, I'm the Fire Chief of Chimney Rock Fire Department in Welcome. Thanks for coming, and we appreciate everybody's support that's helped us. I say us because we're a collaborative effort. We've all worked hard prior to the storm, and we still work hard today. My full-time job, I work for the town of Lake Lure, so proud to say that. And the fire department.
This isn't a full-time job?
No, sir, this is all volunteer.
Is it?
We have no paid staff here at Chimney Rock. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to work for the town of Lake Lure, the deputy fire chief there, and we work hand in hand, and to be able to work together during the storm. It was a collaborative effort during the pre-storm prep and after the storm, and here we are today, still recovering, working hard to get our issues that we have here fixed and in the town. But we're just very thankful for you being here and all y'all's help.
Chief, you have to explain to me the flag you have there. It's got to be set up.
Well, I haven't brought that flag out until yesterday.
Yeah.
That was in my office.
All right, folks, we will likely return to this dialogue a little bit later this hour, but we do want to have an important discussion in just a couple of minutes on a breaking news story that we've been following throughout the day here on Live Impact News, and that is that tanker truck explosion in Mooresville, where there is some sort of chemical involvement, if you will. We wanted to get more insight on this specific chemical called sodium hydroxide, what this is usually used for, what this could mean for folks in the community, even though we are hearing from officials that apparently everything is contained to this site and they don't believe there's a danger to the community, but we always like folks to be a bit smarter about the situation. So stay with us. In 2 minutes, we'll return. We're going to be joined with a chemistry professor to share some more insights about this particular substance and just what folks might need to know about it. We'll see you soon. Hi, folks. Welcome back to Live Impact News. We want to turn to a deeper dive right now on a breaking news story we've been following since the very start of it this morning. And it's coming to us out of Mooresville. In case you're just catching up on this headline, really terrible situation in that there was a tanker truck that exploded at Carolina Beverage Group in Mooresville this morning. One person died. Another person was injured. We're still waiting to hear their specific condition. But essentially, when firefighters arrived, they say that this tanker truck had obvious explosive damage, and this truck was also carrying sodium hydroxide. As we mentioned before we went to break, we are hearing from officials that they feel like the situation is largely contained. They feel like there's not a danger to folks in the community, but we did want to learn more about this particular substance and what its potential impacts could be in general. And so right now we have Susan Richardson, who's joining us from University of South Carolina, and we appreciate all of your insights on chemistry because we know we've spoken to you before in other stories, including the Silfab solar recent chemical incidents. So thanks so much for your time here and joining us once again.
You're welcome. Happy to help.
So we're talking about sodium hydroxide here. We mentioned this is happening at Carolina Beverage Group, so it's a beverage company of sorts. Are you able to share typical uses of sodium hydroxide? Why might the substance be there on a beverage site?
Yeah, so there are a couple of reasons. My first thought is to adjust the pH of the final beverage, right? pH is important. But also, I was reading today and I learned that they use sodium hydroxide a lot for sanitizing bottles and the equipment, all the pipes and the tanks and things like this. So it could be used for cleaning. Sodium hydroxide is a strong cleaner as well. And so one of the brewery sites I saw, I know this is non-alcoholic beverages here, but it says it destroys beer spoiling microbes and it will get rid of fats and grease. And so if that kind of stuff needs to be cleaned out of the bottles or the lines in the production plant, it can be used for that as well.
And I'm thinking back because, candidly, I loved chemistry when I took it in school. It's been admittedly a long time ago, but I remember in chemistry you learn about different substances and whether they're acids or they're they're bases. And whether you're on either side, acid or base, I feel like there are different concerns that you might have in the sense that, like, while we think, acid can burn skin, but base can burn skin too. I mean, in this case, sodium hydroxide, where does this fall on the spectrum of pH? And in that regard, what sort of impacts might there be because of it? Are there concerns with skin issues or breathing? What do you usually see as typical problems with sodium hydroxide?
And kudos that you remember some of your chemistry. I think that's great. So
it was one of my favorite topics.
It's obviously one of my favorite ones too. And so just like people think about a strong acid, say think you spilled battery acid or something like that on yourself, and you're going to have burns and things like that. Strong bases do exactly the same thing. So whether you've got on the low pH end with the acids or the high pH end with the bases, you're going to burn your skin. You can have severe, if you get it in your eyes, severe eye damage, could even go blind if you have too much of it in your eyes. It's corrosive. I mean, it's corrosive to everything. And even the aerosols from a big explosion, all of that liquid going out everywhere, if you breathe that in, can scar your lungs. It's very damaging. So I looked up to see what, level, what molarity or percent level might be used in this process. And it was saying it's typically 1 to 4% of sodium hydroxide. And that pH would be 13.7 to 13.8, really high.
Wow.
The highest we can go is 14 on the pH scale. So that's the equivalent of having a pH 1 really strong acid. It's just the opposite end of the pH scale, but does the same kind of bad things. Very, very strong.
Yeah. The other question I guess I have about this is we know that the other element of the story was that there was some sort of explosion. And while we know the tanker truck had sodium hydroxide on it, is it possible to deduce whether the sodium hydroxide caused the explosion or if it's just, a situation where it happened to be on the truck and maybe something else happened that caused the explosion? Does this thing explode, I guess? Does this substance explode?
Right. Do you happen to know, I assume that it was carrying sodium hydroxide inside the tanker. Do you know that?
This is what we have basically from officials, that a tanker truck with sodium hydroxide exploded. Firefighters arrived. They say that there was obvious explosive damage, and I'm trying to see here. They identified a spilled chemical on scene as sodium hydroxide. And then this sounds like this might be unrelated, but there was a secondary leak at a stationary nitrogen tank, which was then contained. But it sounds like, just kind of reading between the lines, that they're calling this secondary, so it might not have really just been involved with the actual explosion. It just was something they saw afterwards that was an issue to be addressed.
Okay. So I guess let's assume that it sounds like it was probably carrying the sodium hydroxide in the tanker truck. So when I was reading today, there's some metals that can be reactive with sodium hydroxide because sodium hydroxide is extremely corrosive. So if it's the wrong kind of tank, and apparently aluminum tanks are not supposed to carry sodium hydroxide because it can corrode aluminum. Zinc is in that same category. Brass, tin are in that same category. And so let's say that the sodium hydroxide was corroding that aluminum tank or piping that's made of aluminum. That can react to cause an explosion. So the two things, the sodium hydroxide plus the aluminum plus a little bit of water, and what happens is that causes the formation of hydrogen gas. So H2 gas that right, hydrogen can explode, and static electricity or friction or some kind of open flame, situation could have caused that to go off. So there could have been a hydrogen bubble build up inside that tanker truck, potentially. I don't know that that's what happened, but that's potentially what could have happened. And also just heat itself, could cause pressure of the sodium hydroxide in the tank. But I know it hasn't been terribly hot outside lately, right? So I don't know. But if that tanker truck had overheated for some reason, let's say there was an engine issue, it's overheating, then the buildup of gas in that tank could have also caused an explosion.
Yeah, I appreciate you kind of looking through some of the theoreticals, because I guess, as we pointed out, this is still under investigation, but it is interesting to think about some of the potentials here in this case. And I know it feels like maybe for some of our viewers, like we're going into the weeds here. I feel like this does maybe bring up a more everyday application, if you will, in that, you pointed out how it could be potentially problematic to have sodium hydroxide carried in certain types of containers. For example, you mentioned aluminum. I think that there are a lot of everyday chemicals that folks might have in their home that they're not thinking about, either how am I storing these, what sort of chemicals am I layering on top of each other? And I just think about, some of the cautionary tales I hear about, for example, when you're cleaning your bathroom, you don't want to mix certain types of cleaners because that can actually make, basically like gas that can burn your lungs. What sort of, suggestions would you make to folks just on an everyday basis of, general chemicals that they might have in the home, and how can they best either do research or look into best ways to keep themselves safe when they're dealing with these, household chemicals?
Yeah, and there are a lot of different household chemicals, right? You mentioned some, and even the sodium hydroxide is also known as lye. So lye soap, that's what sodium hydroxide is, essentially a different form. But just, the warning labels, all those different products will give some warning label like don't mix with this or don't store in a certain kind of container. A lot of strong acids, for example, I've used muriatic acid before for cleaning something in the way past, and it comes in a heavy glass bottle, for example. You wouldn't want to store, that strong acid or strong base in a metal container, for example, that's going to corrode, So they need to be stored in the right kinds of containers and not mixed with certain other chemicals. And usually there'll be warnings on those cleaner bottles, don't mix with XYZ. So just pay attention to that before you go mixing anything.
Yeah. And interesting, I hadn't made the connection between sodium hydroxide and lye, but we've heard various stories of how folks maybe with dubious purposes have used lye to try to dispose of certain things just because it can eat up so quickly and so efficiently through various substances, if you will. So thank you. We really appreciate your insights here. This has been a very interesting topic, and we hope that you come on back next time. Hopefully there is not a next time, but next time there's any sort of, topic where we might have to talk chemistry, because we see, the everyday impacts of it. It's definitely interesting.
No, thank you. Chemistry is important, and so I'm happy to share and educate anyone watching. I hope we don't have more accidents like this. Let's hope we don't.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes. Maybe it will be a better topic that we can rejoin and speak with you next time. All right. Folks, thank you for sticking with us here on Live Impact. More dialogue to come here the rest of this hour. We've got, of course, we mentioned that feed that we continue to dip into out of Western North Carolina. And be sure that as we get more information on the situation in Mooresville, we'll keep you updated here on Live Impact. Definitely a sad situation. Once again, an explosion. We know that one person is recovering, undisclosed injuries, undisclosed condition, and sadly, another person did lose their life. And so officials are looking at exactly how this all happened and hopefully how this can be prevented in the future. Back in 2 minutes with more Live Impact. We'll see you on the other side of this break. Hi, folks. Welcome back to Live Impact News. We will turn back to Western North Carolina, where DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin visited for a roundtable. Various lawmakers and also FEMA officials, first responders, part of this, as you might suspect, based on the location. Big topic for this visit, Helene recovery. We'll pick back where we left off just several moments ago.
Police officers come up to me. Sorry. And he said that he found it in the water, in the river, and he couldn't think but to give it to me. And, so we dried it out, and I folded it up, and I wanted to do something with it. And I hadn't had time to build a thing for it, and heard y'all was coming, and today was a good day to pull it out and display it.
I think it should be framed.
That's what I want to do.
Would you allow me to pay for that frame?
I would.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will you make sure we'll get that taken care of?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But I'm very proud of it. It was pulled out of the river as we was doing some rescues and things like that. And he kept it and said, I had something for you. And he come to me a couple days later and gave it to me. But this is my hometown. So, thank you.
Dwayne, can you and Rob make sure the thing gets framed and make sure I get the bill on it? Can you do that? Yes, sir. All right, and then make sure I get the bill on it.
Thank you.
I'd love to see that.
I'll do that.
Thank you, Chris. Administrator.
So I'm Karen Evans, and that's really hard to follow. So,
It is.
I just really appreciate the opportunity to be traveling with you, sir, and the opportunity to continue to serve. So I'm not going to take any more time after that. That was very moving.
Sorry.
No, it was awesome. It's very moving.
Administrator, I'll just say one quick thing before I turn it over to the Secretary. In the less than 2 weeks that Secretary Mullin has been in place, he's already helped get this area of the state $134 million in public assistance. He has helped break the logjam on hazard mitigation grant program and bring some clarity to that. Still some work to go on that, but that's been absolutely fabulous. And there was, prior to Secretary Mullin, there was a $100,000 threshold which required the Secretary to evaluate, which led to a real logjam. And I just appreciate you breaking through that, leaning on your very competent team and staff to, they need a proper review for our taxpayers. They deserve that, but to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, that still needs to happen, but it doesn't always have to happen at the Secretary's desk. So you've got a great team reviewing those requests, and I appreciate that. Things are already moving, and this is your first visit. You haven't been in office 2 weeks, so we're grateful for your help. Turn it over to you.
Appreciate it. Well, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the press that took the journey out here with us too, because one thing we want to make sure the American people know is that we're still recovering, right? And being from Oklahoma, we deal with a lot of tornadoes. We see a lot of destruction, but I have never seen anything like this. And I can't even imagine what it looked like 18 months ago. But to see everybody come together, in Oklahoma, we call that the Oklahoma Standard. But that usually takes months of recovery. You guys, 18 months later, you're still here, and it's just one big family. And as a chief, obviously, you could tell is still emotional about it. But to see what's happening, to see the revitalization that's taken place, from the roads to the towns, to the buildings, to even the lake. I mean, you wouldn't have believed that lake was packed full of soot and debris because it looks beautiful and pristine now. It's pretty remarkable. But I'm proud of, one, of the work you guys are doing, and two, the work that FEMA has done here too. To make it our first trip to see the private-public partnership from the state level to the local level to the federal level, this is how it's supposed to work. But everybody said, too, I mean, when we talked to the mayors, there's been some hiccups, but we were able to work past them. We're still working past some of them. I don't know how many times Ted and I have had conversations about this before Secretary was even a thought, because we would have dinner quite often because we came in freshmen together in the Senate, and we have this thing called the Red Shirt Freshman Class. JD's part of it, or the vice president's part of it too. And from the get-go, Ted was talking about what was happening. And as this process was going through with my nomination, obviously I was somewhat familiar with it just because of the conversations we've had. But when he started giving me action items, this is what we need, it was very simple to get in and get started. And Karen and Victoria brought it to my desk immediately, and we were able to get to work. But there's a lot of lessons that can be learned. Even though there's work to be done, there's lessons that can be learned. And one thing I do believe is when we step back and we have an awful disaster like this, it also allows us to be more efficient and more prepared moving forward. And so as we go here and we take questions and we hear from you guys, please be as open as you possibly can. Give us action points. You guys ever heard the 5 love languages? Right? It's written in North Carolina. We've had this conversation. Yeah, well, words of affirmation is not mine at all. I want to know what we can do better. And so when we're going through this conversation, let's know what we can do better. Not just beat up on FEMA, that's not the point, because they've done a great job, but what is it that we could maybe tweak just a little bit to tear down some of the redundancy. And I think, Tim, you were talking about, and by the way, first name works just perfect for me because I'm going to use your first name, so please don't feel like you need to use titles with me. But Tim, you're talking about some of the redundancy from the state and federal side. Maybe you can expand a little bit on that, and so we can break down some of those walls. And then we just go around. I don't know how you want to handle it. Just go around the room. And then press. We'll take some questions from you guys towards the end too. Is that okay? All right. Tim, you want to go ahead and start?
I probably actually brought something for you to read on the airplane on your way back.
I need something else to read. They're not giving me enough binders right now.
So there's probably 3 pinch points that we're dealing with right now that are causing us a problem from a recovery standpoint. The first one is the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. I think it's a good program, but when most of the buildable land in our area here is in floodplains, it does creates problems on our recovery, especially when rebuilding our roads. So if a property owner qualifies for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program and their property is conveyed to the federal government, if we could have permission to use it for a core public purpose, like rebuilding our roads, rebuilding water and sewer, then that allows us to not have the conflict between present-day value offerings from the condemnation, taking their rights away from them, but I think it protects the integrity of the federal design to make sure that we're not building a structure back in a flood-prone area. If that makes sense. So what I've been trying to work with, and I spoke to Victoria and Greg about it a few weeks ago, and Tim's been working with me, and so has Ted's office and Congressman Edwards, is just really a memorandum of agreement from FEMA that basically says if this property was a recipient of a hazard mitigation grant and the state or the local government needs to use it for a core public purpose, then here in writing is permission to do so. So that's one area that we need a lot of help. The other one, there's 2 more, but I'll just get into the other one. There's a consensus that this was a 1,000-year storm, and I think that's a uniform consensus, but public policy is really geared around 100-year storms. So the fact that we have a lot of areas that were not in a flood hazard area in the beginning, but they are now, is limiting our ability to rebuild structures simply because they were damaged in a 1,000-year event. So we had adopted a 200 historic flood event part of our statutes that we're looking to get a memorandum of agreement from FEMA that says, yes, you're not going to be in violation of the National Flood Insurance Program if we respect the fact that your statutes are very constrained, but it allows your communities to rebuild. And an example of that is the town of Biltmore Village. Biltmore Village is historic. It's the gateway to Biltmore Estate. We have structures there that were built to a 100-year floodplain. This storm was 11 feet above that. You have a lot of historic buildings there that need to be rebuilt, but they can't be rebuilt because They were more than 50% substantially damaged, which requires them all to be lifted 6 feet or they're just going to remain vacant. So our ask is, from the state's perspective, it's a 1,000-year event. The likelihood that that's going to happen again mathematically is on our side that it won't. Allow us to rebuild without these constraints that are imposed on us federally.
Karen, do you know about this? Are you familiar with it?
About the NFIP, yes, please.
What do we need to do?
We're working through some of those flood mappings now, and so I took a note down, sir, to follow up on his.
This will be my biggest action point and figure out what we can do. Is because if this is through rulemaking, surely there can be an exception someplace.
Agreed.
Bureaucracy is worse inside of not all agencies, but we just put layers and layers on stuff, and we don't allow ourselves flexibility. So if it's not legislation that requires it, it's legislation, it's these guys. If it's through rules, I bet we can probably figure something out on that. So we'll make this a We'll make this a priority.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, Victoria.
On the first one, the hazard mitigation, I think we do have some paths to solutions that the Secretary was able to work with Karen to unlock. And so just yesterday, 75 properties were funded, and another tranche is imminent. Rob's team and the region and the local state team here have been working very diligently to process many of those. And Rob, do you want to speak to some of the parceling that we're doing so that they can be eligible?
Absolutely. So the properties that are eligible for buyout, we looked at them and saw them in 3 different buckets, if you will.
All right, folks, we're wrapping it up here for this edition of Live Impact News. We got our news at 4 coming up here on WCNC Plus. I will see you again for Live Impact at 7 tonight.